Was design inspiration the only news we got about Magic Kingdom's Villains Land at Destination D23? I actually think Disney revealed more than most fans have realized. In recent days, I have been sifting through Disney's official announcements and analyzing quotes from Disney Imagineers and creatives because, as we know, oftentimes the news and reveals are all in the language. And in doing so, I think I've come across some little nuggets of information that paint a clearer picture of what Imagineering is going for, including possible elements of its backstory and how it's going to be different than maybe we originally thought. So if you would, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel as we embark on a deep dive into what we now know about this anticipated addition to the Magic Kingdom. So let's start with what Disney confirmed, or rather reconfirmed, about Villains Land during D23. First of all, Disney said once again that Villains Land will have 2 major attractions as well as dining and shopping. And while we knew this, a lot has changed since the land was first announced, and the fact that Disney went out of their way to note this again is a great sign that they are not scaling back, but possibly doubling down on their vision for this land. Secondly, Imagineer Wyatt Winter, who was the senior producer of Epcot's Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, is the executive producer for Villains Land. And while that Epcot's attraction is an indicator of Winter's abilities, much of his Imagineering record involves integrating IP characters into attractions and thrill rides, which may be why he was seen as a great fit for this project. Also, Cosmic Rewind is a coaster, and we're still anticipating a Villains Land coaster, so there could be a connection there. In keeping with the creatives behind Villains Land, we know that Disney animator Andreas Deja, who animated Gaston, Jafar, and Scar, is serving as a consultant for Imagineering, and he actually has some really revealing things to say about Villains Land. For instance, he said the new land is going to amplify the way we see villains, and he described it as dramatic with amazing lighting, which is interesting. Could there be a model somewhere that he has seen and we have not? I don't know. But he said one of the things that excites him most is having a place where you can see Disney villains interact. In fact, he referenced a drawing he gave to legendary animator Mark Davis, who animated Maleficent, and which showed Jafar inviting Maleficent to a dance. He went on to say he wondered what kind of conversations these 2 villains would have and how interesting they would be. Now, during Destination D23, I noted that Maleficent failing to get an invitation was something that was mentioned more than once. Whether that was a hint or just talk amongst Imagineers, I don't know, but it could be an element in this land's backstory, which I do have more information about. We will get there. But as for what else Deja had to say, the focus on the interaction between villains kind of sounds like this land is going to be a version or a villain's version of Avengers Infinity War or Endgame, where fans get to see characters from different stories and projects assemble and connect. Or if you're old enough to remember this, kind of like a real life House of Mouse, just with Disney antagonist. This also makes me think we could get a dark ride featuring an assemblage of Disney villains. And wouldn't it be interesting if, along the lines of Marvel, the ride system for Avengers Infinity Defense in Disneyland is what we get for Villains Land, but reworked to feature animated characters? The big Villains Land reveal out of Destination D23 was, of course, Villains Land design inspiration, which is Art Nouveau. And the reason is Imagineers want natural motifs in the land, saying they want nature appear to be cursed, like magic has frozen it in place. And they're calling this style they're developing conjured architecture, which is a blend of historical components and fantastical worlds that have merged. Now, in that description, there's quite a bit of information. For instance, it definitely sounds like Villains Land is going to be a space that was once one way and has fallen on hard times or under a curse. And their definition of conjured architecture, which again is a blend of historical components and fantastical worlds, that term historical component suggests we could see elements of a space or location that has a history, that existed before, that had a life before, and has now been taken over. Granted, that is me dissecting that sentence. I could be wrong, but to me, what they're saying and the fact that the land's design stems from European inspirations, including France, which is where Cinderella's story originated, is that Villain's Land could be an extension of Magic Kingdom's fantasy land that was once accessible, but has now been cursed and claimed by the villains. And there is a precedent for this, as leading up to the opening of New Fantasyland for Magic Kingdom, Disney claimed that this part of Fantasyland was always there, but was long hidden from view by a curse, which is now being broken. So Villain's Land and this possible historical backstory could easily be a natural continuation of pre-existing Magic Kingdom lore. As for why the villains have all been relegated to this singular land, you know I have long theorized that the magic mirror may be the reason, and that his realm is where the villains are trapped, which is actually part of Villains Unfairly Ever After's backstory at Hollywood Studios. So maybe the magic mirror's realm is Villains Land? Imagineering has not said that. I did think it was interesting, though, that they did mention that stained glass windows, painted metals, and jeweled tones will be present. So maybe that's still what's in store. Of course, another possibility is that the villains have teamed up to take over Magic Kingdom with this curse, and Villains Land is as far as they've got. Time will tell, but I feel like we're getting pieces to the puzzle of the story that they're going to be telling. But while we're talking about characters, I believe Disney has not strayed from having Maleficent as the primary villain of Villains Land. In the original concept art we received, this certainly seemed to be the case, and while it wasn't said at D23, the signs were definitely there. Since Disney described nature taking over or reclaiming architecture, this sounds like the work of Maleficent more than other Disney villains, like when the Thorns take over the kingdom in Sleeping Beauty. She was also included in the D23 presentation, along with Dr. Facilier, Hades, Ursula, and Chernabog. I should mention, too, that Imagineer Wyatt Winter did name drop the Horned King from the Black Cauldron as an underrated Disney villain, so maybe he's part of the Villains Land roster, too. But circling back on Maleficent, something I want to mention is that, well, I still think she's a main focus on the land and will have her own coaster. The new information we got suggests the land at large is going to look stylistically different from the concept art. That original and still only piece of concept art suggested a more gothic design with ramshackle buildings, but from these Imagineering inspiration pics and details and the focus being Art Nouveau, I think we're going to get something way more elegant and regal, a kind of dark complement to Magic Kingdom and Fantasyland. Finally, the last thing I want to bring to your attention is that Villains Land may not be the name of the land in the end. Boardwalk Times pointed this out on X, that the Disney Parks blog referred to Villains Land as, and I quote, the villains themed land at Magic Kingdom, suggesting that the land would be getting its own official name or title in the future. Just what that name could be, you'll have to let me know your thoughts and share your predictions in the comments. I'd like to hear what you come up with. But on that note, that is all I've been able to uncover about Magic Kingdom's next new land so far. Here is hoping we get more news very soon. But if you enjoyed today's video, and if you're all about Disney Park news and analysis, please do hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It would truly make my day. But regardless, thank you for listening and for watching, and I hope you have a magical day.